It's an end of an era for the Toronto Raptors. Today, the basketball club announced that Masai Ujiri is out as vice chairman and president, marking the end of a more than decade-long run that delivered the franchise's first NBA title. The dismissal is a follow-up to Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment's trend of moving on from team presidents ever since the conglomerate hired Keith Pelley as its CEO last year. Jason Gaidola joins us live with the latest tonight. Jason, was this a mutual decision?
Well, Manisa, it doesn't appear that it was, based off Pelley telling reporters this afternoon that it was his decision with support from the MLSE board members. Masai is also exiting the organization with just 1 year left on his contract as well.
Today's not an easy day, but as you know, change is never easy. Masai Ujiri has had a monumental impact on the Raptors and on our community during his 13 seasons with this organization.
Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment CEO Keith Pelley thanked and lauded outgoing Toronto Raptors president Masai Ujiri today for his efforts in transforming the ball club on and off the court. Nevertheless, the team says they're moving on without him.
So Masai and I spoke over a month ago, and he asked that if a change were to happen, that it was post-draft. And that made the most sense, not to disrupt the draft process.
Pelley confirmed the organization's intentions for a change while Ujiri was set to enter under the cloud of the final year of his contract. The widely unpopular dismissal is now a sequel to MLSE's trend of moving on from team presidents.
Did you make this decision, or did Edward Rogers make this decision?
This was my decision, supported by the board. The reason they brought me in, or they wanted to bring somebody in that oversaw the teams. So they all have input, but at the end of the day, this was my decision, supported by the board.
It also comes well after speculation over a potential rift with top boss Edward Rogers and reports that MLSE did not want to extend Ujiri. Ujiri swatted down the chatter last year, and during the Raptors' season-ending availability this year, Ujiri shared his thoughts about the change in regime.
I've had the same relationships with all these people. Keith was new, but it's honestly been great. But it's been the same relationship and been the same way and the same communication, which I am happy about.
Oh, Canada! Larry Tannenbaum, George Cope, Ed Rogers, Masai Ujiri.
Ujiri's exit marks the end of more than a decade-long run that delivered the franchise's first NBA title. A legacy that also includes 7 straight playoff appearances and a vast number of successful draft picks and trades, which elevated the club to a higher status in the NBA.
You know, he's been the executive of the year. He runs in some pretty impressive crowds. We can quibble about some of the mistakes that they've been made. You know, everything with, Jakob Poeltl and were they tanking or not tanking a couple years ago. But he's still an excellent executive. And, so yeah, I think this is a step back.
Pelley admitted that a number of factors resulted in his decision to move on from Ujiri, but evaded specifics as to why.
Maybe Edward Rogers and other board members might be thinking, hey, what have you done for me lately? We missed the playoffs almost every year except for one in recent years. So why are you worth $15 million or more on the next deal? So yeah, I definitely don't think it's just the on-court stuff or anything like that. Money, as always, definitely was a factor here.
Pelley used the words brand, stability, and culture throughout today's press conference, elements Ujiri was known for establishing in Toronto.
When you create a brand, when you create a culture, if it is mitigated when that individual is no longer involved, then the culture and the brand has not been created in the right way. And I believe that the way that he has built the brand and the way that he has created the culture is something that we, as an organization at MLSE, cherish and need now to build upon.
MLSE intends to break the trend of not having a team president. Pelley says they will look for a replacement in Masai Ujiri's role. He adds they seek a business-like candidate, but still running the operations in basketball. He says a newly extended GM Bobby Webster will also be considered for the role.